welcome to a Few Goldilock Bears podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about things we love, things that we hate, and things in the middle. This could be things that we're indifferent about, that we're ambivalent about, that we're on the fence about. These are the gray areas of life. These are the things that aren't in the black and white, that they don't maintain to your precious polar opposites.
Hello again. Hello, I am Vincent Cloud.
Hello, I am John Nemitz.
Hello, I am David Lauer.
And before we get into our topics of love, hate, and ambivalence, what have you, things we're on the fence about, we talk about old topics. It's that time of year again, or time of the podcast. Talk about a little
Time of the
old
month.
stuff. Go ahead, Dave, with your Deja Few.
Man, okay, so we were kind of talking about getting older and like the aches and pains of getting older and like how as time goes on, it just seems to creep up on us a little bit by a little bit. I hurt my neck last week and I like lost mobility to turn my head to the left for like 5 days. So I'm just turning my shoulders anytime I have to look. So I'm like Batman in the big costume where like, and he's like, or like Bigfoot, where like he doesn't really turn his head, he just turns his shoulders. That was me for like 4 or 5 days,
Man,
and
you're
it was
working your
super,
core though.
yeah. Uh, and it's like, oh, Dave, how did you hurt your neck? Well, I was just sleeping. I woke up and my neck hurt because I'm that fucking old apparently, where I just injure myself while I'm sleeping and not even moving. Like, I don't even know how it's possible, but I managed to hurt my neck while I was sleeping, and it like was lasting effects. And it like I was trying to like we went down to Tulsa, and I couldn't even like drive in Tulsa. I told my wife, I'm like, you got to drive. I'm like, I can't turn my head properly to check my blind spot. I can't look left. Like this isn't working, and it's just it sucks. I don't. It's so stupid to get hurt like that, and it's Oh, and another thing. So this is a little bit different. I've always been like, oh, I don't want to like bend over and curl my back and hurt my back. So I always try to keep my back really straight and have good posture. Well, I've been keeping my back straight and trying to avoid bending for so long that I feel like I have really horrible flexibility now because I never like try to bend my back. I'm always trying to keep it straight. So I feel like while I haven't injured my back, I'm getting more and more immobile, and that's going to lead to injury. So I've somehow like just found a way to injure myself or
Classic
potentially injure myself.
backfire.
Exactly.
And you're talking
Uh,
about like not being able to drive. That reminded me of I don't remember if it was last winter or the winter before, but um I I injured my back because our garage door opener, like the mechanical mechanism was busted, so I had to like manually open and close our overhead garage door. And just one time I twisted my back wrong, just like bending down to like lift up the door or whatever. And it was like horrible. Like my back would just like tighten up and spasm in this one part and like the lower right of my back, and it would just be extreme pain until like it like loosened up from the spasm to the point where just like driving was horrible because like if like as long as I was like going straight down the road it was fine, but as soon as I needed to turn, just that little motion would cause it to spasm up. And I remember like being at I went to like order some takeout food or something, and I'm like up at the bar ordering the food, and I'm like, yeah, and for the side, I'll have the fry. Like, like mid sentence, my back tensed up. I'm like, like a really emotional order for me, apparently.
oh man. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I don't have any recent injuries or anything. Wait. Something happened. I don't remember anymore. Fuck. But I did hurt my back once really bad. Like I was helping my mom move stuff, and I was just like ready to go. And I'm like, let's just get it done and over with. 'Cause I didn't want to do it. So I was like, let's just get it done. And so I was moving a little bit extra fast. And I went to pick up this tub and something happened, the lower part of my back. I'm like, oh my God, like what the fuck? So ever since then, though, what feels good is to be have my back as straight as possible and my shoulders back. Like that actually feels nice. So I've actually altered the way uh, stand and walk because of that. Yeah, and so sometimes I have to think like, no, kind of put your shoulders forward a little bit. Like not everyone looks like they're coming in with their chest, big barreled chest. You know what I mean? Like I don't mean to come off that way. It's just it feels nice to have my shoulders back like that, and it just makes everything feel aligned. So yeah, it's weird. Should we get the show started?
We should.
I'll start with some love. So we've talked about video games in terms of entertainment and, you could call it a toy, but let's talk about a physical toy that you hold in your hand called Mighty Max toys, I guess. Uh, Apparently, you guys ever hear of the Polly Pocket?
Heck yeah, I've heard of Polly Pocket.
It's
Not
just like that.
not to jump into what my reaction was, but I couldn't remember what these were from name, and my first thought was like, oh yeah, I remember these. They were like Polly Pocket for boys.
Yeah, exactly. I remember at the time I'm like, I don't care because they're still cool, you know. I didn't even bother to like open up the little Polly Pocket things because the Mighty Max stuff is great. Um, I think I was a fan of the show before I heard of the toys. I think that's possible. I don't know. But I love the fucking show, and that's going to be a future love. But I wanted to go like with toys because we've never talked about them on the show. So yeah, it would like you would have like a cyclops, and it would be a face. You'd have the one eyeball. It would have these yellow teeth, but then one of them was purple, and you're like, oh, that's weird. And then it looks like they're like these worms coming out of its mouth, and then it would have a horn coming out, right? But then you open it, and it reveals this scene where it's like the back of the head technically would be the floor plan, and then once it opens up you have the face straight up, and that provides like stairs and like the other levels of the house or whatever scene that they're trying to create. And I always thought it was really cool with all the little pieces of designs. They had to be clever in ways that it opens and closes. Like, like the eyeball from the Cyclops is actually this creature that you get to play with. It comes with these miniature little toys. And the horn, when it opens up, it becomes the stairway to that upper level. That when the jaw opens, you see the teeth, but there's that discolored tooth. That is actually a chair, a secret opening and closing chair. So like Dave, you like your little secret spaces. This is full of them. You get to explore and like, oh, you open this up and that. Um, I think they're just these cool little weird designs and some inappropriate. Like there's this uh it's for King Ape, I think. That was the one with the big gorilla head. And you open it up and there's like uh heads on spikes, like decapitated heads and stuff. You're like, what the fuck? And then in the Cyclops one, there's like a rack. There's a Iron Maiden that you could put Max in and stuff. I think it's pretty edgy for toys. So yeah, do you guys ever experience a Mighty Max toy?
Yeah, I
Thoughts?
mean, as I mentioned, I had to like look them up to remember what they were. Like when I read Mighty Max, it didn't ring a bell, but I definitely had one of these. I want to say it was like a skull, um, like not like a Cyclops, but just like a normal human skull looking thing. Um, I don't remember there being a cartoon at all. I really just remember like the little play sets and like yeah, like the the hero of the toy was like what, like a centimeter tall, and like the the base of it just like it would pop into place in the different areas of like the play set or whatever. I remember like loving the toy as a kid. I hadn't thought about it for years since you brought it up now.
Dave, show us your collection.
I have no collection. I was sheltered as a young child. Like like the fact you were saying how they're edgy, and there's like some of them have weapons, and there's like mummies or Draculas or like creepy zombie looking characters. Like my mom would never let me have any toys that like slightly resembled, well, it's not totally true. Like I had like a Nerf gun, which resembles a weapon, and I had some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they had weapons. So it's not like I didn't have anything, but my mom wouldn't like never get me toys like that. Like those were always like the toys that I would look at and be like, "Oh, those look really cool," but like there was no chance I was ever going to get anything cool like that. It was like my mom would always say like, "Oh, those are for older kids." And it's like, "But I'm 13. Like how much older do I need to be?"
If I want it,
Like
I'm the right age for it.
yeah.
Uh,
I don't
this
know. I feel like my friend Brandon growing up, like he would probably have toys like that because like he would listen to Metallica and he would watch like Friday the 13th and Halloween, and he would probably have these Mad Max toys.
Mighty
Mighty
Max.
Mighty
Max.
Max.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. They look really cool and like they look familiar to me, but I know I never owned anything like it.
Dang. Yeah, I'm.
What was that cartoon like, Vince?
It was great. It's very funny. The lead, Mighty Max, is played by the guy who voiced Raphael in the Ninja Turtles. So like he's cracking wise all the time. And man, it's cool that his hat glows so that it opens up a portal and they just jump through and go into these different universes, very much like Rick and Morty. And then also there's this tall bodyguard, and you could swear that he was the inspiration for Brock in the Venture Brothers, because he's kind of like he doesn't say much, but when he does, he's like, I like killing or something like that, you know what I mean? And he's like this like yeah, it's very much Brock. Uh yeah, the show's great. I think it was like 2 seasons worth. It's good. I recommend it.
And you said so like the faces opening up and stuff is actually kind of makes sense with what the cartoon was,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
with the toys, I mean.
yeah, because the Cyclops one was an episode, where he has to deal with a Cyclops and the gigantic crawling eye. That was awesome. And like this, yeah, they try and recreate the scenes in those toys, so that's really awesome. Actually, I think the toys were first, but it came with a comic strip of the story that they're
Oh,
telling.
okay.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. And like I don't go back and try and buy my childhood, but this I might, because they're just design wise, they're really cool to look at. I think they're really clever pieces of entertainment. Yeah.
You look them up, like how much are they going for on eBay? Do you have any idea?
I haven't checked yet. No. Um, but yeah, I probably, oh man, there's this beautiful Triceratops one. Like the colors are also really great, but like, again, where the things on the outside, when you open it up, it turns out there's something else. Like with the Triceratops, you have the nose horn, and when you open it up, it's a pterodactyl, and then his two horns above his eyes. One is a volcano, and the other one is a raptor's tail. It's so awesome. Very cool. But yeah.
So yeah, I bet like it'd be tricky to like find ones where all the pieces are still there because there was like such tiny little pieces. And like I know like when I was a kid, I definitely lost stuff like that all the time.
Segway challenge. Oh, here's a portal. My hat's lighting up, and let's jump through that portal. Thank you, Virgil. This is all Mighty Max related to the show, so yeah. It's great. Oh, and it also has Tim Curry as the
Yeah,
villainous
obviously.
Skullmaster. Yeah. Oh my gosh, my internet connection is unstable, it says. Yeah, our so far our connection has been really bad this session, but let's move forward. Go ahead.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Go ahead, John.
All right. I've got a new adjective to describe to our non-lover hate. Is it, I don't know if I want to say bittersweet or like kind of melancholy
Oh.
um about thing like finally doing a thing that it took you decades to get around to. Um so one thing I've mentioned is I've been doing like a home renovation project. When we bought our house however many, like 15 or so years ago, the inspector came through and like he didn't find any reasons like, oh, you shouldn't buy the house, but he just had like a list of things that like, oh, you should probably do this at some point, like like replace the roof on the garage and cover like vapor lock your crawl space, like keep the moisture down, like all that kind of stuff. And we kind of just have been like ticking those off over the years and just like um those like I think it just feels good to have accomplished them finally. Some of them that are more maybe not as positive is like there's been like a lot of like you hear of albums or movies and stuff when you're young, and you always have them in the back of your mind. Like one of them I'm just thinking of like the movie Cool Hand Luke. I heard of like when I was in high school and just for whatever reason had never watched it and like finally watched it a few weeks ago and like I didn't know like what to expect from the movie, and I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good, but it's just like no movie could be as good as like 25 years of waiting to watch it. You know what I mean? Like um so in that sense, like um sometimes it's like, oh man, I can't believe I didn't watch it earlier, and other times it's like, oh, is that what it is? Like, why is everyone all excited about that? Um, but just like being, I guess part of it is just being this old and having thought about stuff for so long without actually experiencing it is kind of a weird sensation all of its own. But then the finally accomplishing or just watching or listening to the thing after all this time has its own pros and cons, I'd say.
Yeah, I like the idea of I'm bittersweet about this or that. Yeah, it should be added to the show for sure. Um, uh, Dave, you go ahead. I'm trying to think. I don't really prepare too much for this one.
Well, you talking about Cool Hand Luke, that kind of reminds me, this is a good enough time as any to bring it up. A movie that I've always wanted to watch, but I finally got around to watching, was Unforgiven, the 1992 Clint Eastwood directed movie. It had Gene Hackman in it. Rest in
Oh
peace.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
recently passed away. Um, this movie, I've always been excited to watch it, and I watched it and I was so disappointed.
No,
Gene
What?
God damn it.
Gene Hackman's
Uh,
incredible, and I love everything with Gene Hackman in it. However, like it won all these Oscars, Clint Eastwood did, and like it's not even a top five Clint Eastwood movie. Like all of Clint Eastwood's stuff from like the 70s and 80s was better than this movie, I felt like, at least like his performance wise. And like this, just the story was it was not as good as Tombstone. And I've always felt like Tombstone had a lot of faults, but I feel like Unforgiven has even more. Um, I don't know. I was just like, I guess because of all the Oscars and just waiting so long to watch it, once I finally did, I was disappointed. Um, I don't know. It's one of those things where you kind of build it up, or other people build it up, and then you just kind of get this idea in my head. But it just, I don't know. The movie was just, it was just whatever. It was fine, but I'm never gonna watch it again.
You know what? You're whatever. How about that?
That's a fair point.
Oh,
I love
Vince,
that
did you write
movie.
that one down?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Big bold marker. No, yeah, I really do like that movie, but I get what you're saying. Like that was going to be a future something where it's like when people build up something so much and then you go in, there's a good chance you're gonna be like, you know, no, no, thank you. Yeah, because that's happened to me, and I try my best not to, to confront those ideas before I watch a movie, Yeah, for sure. Um, wait, what is the initial one? It takes decades to do. Um, hmm, I'm trying to think. Yeah, for some reason I can't. You said get projects done. I still have a lot of projects still up in the air that I come to back and forth. Like, it was touch and go, as they say. Uh, yeah.
I
I'm
did
trying to.
something recently that's taken me forever to do. Um, my wife and I got a joint bank account together, and
Oh,
I've always said like, oh, I'm never gonna do that. It's so pointless and stupid. And for the most part, we still have like she has her account and I have my account. But then with the joint account, we can pay certain bills out of, and then just getting it is the first step, and then it'll kind of build off of that. We'll be able to like certain medical bills we're going to pay out of that account, but then we're also going to just put money in there, and the extra that doesn't go to medical bills or whatever bills we're going to pay out of that, that'll just be like extra vacation money. And then in a couple years, then we'll be able to like go on a nice vacation. And it's doing like financially responsible things is like something I've always wanted to save money. I've always wanted to like set stuff aside, but I just never do it. And it's always like, yeah, I should really do that. I should, but I like actually at work I went into my direct deposit and I changed like, okay, take so many hundreds of dollars, automatically put it in this other account. And then the remainder will go into my regular checking account. And to actually do that, it's like, oh, this is kind of awesome. Now I want to like build off of that. And like maybe I could even get like another separate account and then just have like a fund where I'm gonna put this much a month, and then all of that money will go towards like a new vehicle when I have to buy a new vehicle in like 4 or 5 years.
yeah. I
Yeah, I'm
think.
a big fan of that kind of thing. Like, I don't actually do it with different accounts, but I always like had a spreadsheet where it's like, oh, this is my car maintenance fund, this is my home maintenance, this is eating out. Like, just have all these like different categories of spending, and you let them build up, and then like, oh, now I can do this because I let that money build up responsibly.
Okay, well then in that case, I've always bought cars outright. I hate making payments on shit. But I finally just did that, what was it 2 years ago now? Yeah, I was like, hey, I went to the bank. I'm like, hey, I want to get a more expensive vehicle or something like that. And I finally did it. And so that's something. It took a long time to do, and overall it's worth it, the vehicle. Yeah. How long did it take you to watch Inception, Dave? Wasn't it like 8 years, something like that? Like he bought it. It was in his DVD rack for years. And I wasn't even like super hyped on it. I was just like, Dave, watch it. It's cool. And you were like, sure. And then 8 years ago, you're like, I finally watched it. It's good.
Well, it's kind of the thing where you're talking about how you hate getting spoiled on stuff. And I felt like
Uh,
I got spoiled, and they're like, because I heard like, oh, Inception, it's all just a dream. Well, that's the entire plot. So it wasn't really a spoiler, but
Oh,
like in
yeah, but
my
yeah, I can see how that would feel like a spoiler if you
yeah,
hadn't
so
seen it.
like I was like, I don't want to watch it. I already know it's gonna be in a dream. And then so like when I did watch it, I was like, oh, that wasn't a spoiler at all. Like I have no idea what's gonna happen this entire movie. So I don't know. Sometimes you just like you hear a hint of something and then you're like, I'm gonna not watch that for a while. But yeah, that was something that I waited forever, and then I saw Inception, and I'm like, this is amazing. Why didn't I watch it sooner? And then Vince, you're like, I told you multiple times to watch it.
But then after a while, I'm like, it's not even that great. Just watch it. Like I didn't want to build it up in your head. I'm like, I'm not trying to do that. Oh, okay. Well, I have another thing, I guess. The challenge, like MTV The Challenge. I remember seeing a commercial for it or a clip of it, and I'm like, oh, this is stupid. I just assumed because it's real world road rules. I'm like a bunch of vapid teenagers doing a thing. No, thank you. And then I finally gave it a shot when I was like, I don't know, like 10 years later. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. This is so great. And it's like one of my favorite shows now. So that's another thing where it took a little too long. Yeah. All right. Segue challenge. Let's make a pact. In 10 years, we come up with a Segway challenge. All of
All right,
us.
we'll meet here on this day 10 years from now, and we'll do it.
What is that? What is that movie that I'm thinking of? Wet Hot
What
American
hot?
Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Um, yeah, whoever's next.
I am next.
I
Um,
am.
this is something I hate, and this is why I never come up with a segue challenge because I'm not spontaneous, and I hate being spontaneous. I'm just really bad at being spontaneous. I just like my wife is a very spontaneous person. She'll just be like, "Hey, let's do this. Let's do this." And I'm always just like, "No, no." My first reaction is like, "No, no, we can't do anything." I'm like, "We didn't plan that out." I'm like, "You didn't like you're just telling me this now and we're supposed to do it in 20 minutes?" Like, "No, no, no." I'm like, "I have to prepare myself for this." Like, and my wife's like, well, "What do you mean you have to prepare yourself?" And I'm like, "Well, because I had to get in that mental space. I'm like, if I'm going to be around people, I'm like, I haven't been around people all day. This is a big deal." Like I can't just go out in the public. That's crazy. And I just and like I try not to, but like I don't know. It's just like a part of my personality that I try to fight back against. But I'm like I'm just not spontaneous and I try to like, okay, Dave, you just I know you hate it, but you just gotta freaking do it anyways. And it's always like super trivial, stupid stuff. It's never anything. It's not like, oh, let's be spontaneous and go jump out of an airplane or anything. Like, no, it's just like, should we go to TJ Maxx? I'm like, no, I didn't plan on that. Let's not go.
No, today is the day we go to Marshall's, not the day we go to TJ Maxx.
Yeah, like what the heck? It's like I thought we were gonna have this for dinner. We can't just go there and have that for dinner. I wasn't expecting to have Taco Bell. We have to have Panda Express. I don't know. Are you guys spontaneous at all? Or like I hate and I hate this part of my personality. I hate that I hate it. It's annoying to me.
It depends on how you define it. So like I'm a very go with the flow person. So like if somebody else is spontaneous and is like, "Hey, I just had this crazy idea. Do you want to go do whatever?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." But like I'm not the one to come up with a thing. Like I'm usually content just hanging out, doing whatever I'm doing. If someone has an idea for something, I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do that." I'm not gonna push against it, but I don't see that as being spontaneous. I just see it as like being flexible or like willing to be a follower. I guess I don't know.
I'm with you, Dave, about like, give me like 3 days notice on everything, Like, yeah, you want to prepare yourself. Um, there's so many factors you feel like you got to run through because you know that you're going to expect the worst. I do, anyways, and it's a stupid thing, but I like to. assume the worst sometimes because I know it's not going to be that way. You get there and nothing, like nobody cares. Nobody cares that you're there. No, like no one's paying attention to you. Like, and that's good. That's what I was like. I was hoping like, oh my God, there's Vince or something like that. Like, get him out of here or something like that for no reason. So, but I do need that time to think of, oh shit, what if this happens? And this is so stupid. But I feel it hurts the most with family because they used to stop by like, hey, we're in Eau Claire and stuff like that. And yeah, that's when I'm just like, oh, I'm doing something else or something. I know it's horrible if any family members hear this, but that's somewhat of the case. It wasn't always like that. I feel like I've been growing into that. I've been more and more of a hermit in my older age. But I would like to get out of that. I know it's annoying. It's not fair for your friends and your loved ones. Yeah, totally. I'm not the best with being spontaneous.
I know we've invoked him quite a few times on the show, but Jesse, I always feel like I don't know if spontaneous is the right word, but like he just always had an idea of something he wanted to do. Like, oh, we should go do whatever. And I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. Like, um, I always admired that about him, that he just always had stuff he wanted to do. Like, I always wondered, like, how did you have the idea that you wanted to, like, drive up to the UP and check out whatever logging roads or whatever? Like, it was always he always knew about something to do and wanted to do it. And I never, like, I don't have that particular drive in, like, figuring out, like, what is the thing that would be cool to do? Like, I always am impressed with people who can think of that stuff.
I think, Dave, do you get this where maybe sometimes you want a change, maybe not immediate, but you're like, it would be cooler if life was like this, and I'll build to that. I don't want it necessarily to happen just right away, but again, let me prepare for this. Like I feel that way where I'm like sometimes I'm at work or something where I'm like, I wish I could do without this or that, or I wish I was doing more of this. Yeah. It's got to be gradual.
Yeah, yeah. Like I lived in Wisconsin my whole life, and then when I was 34, I moved down to Oklahoma. And like I knew that like my girlfriend at the time was not my wife, like she was from Oklahoma. So like in my head, I graduated. I was like, I wonder if she would ever want to move there. But I'm like, and then I'm like, but I'm from here. This is where I'm from. But then like as I broke it down over time, like over a matter of like weeks and months, I was like, well, I don't love my job. Like I could get a job somewhere else. And I'm like, I'm gonna miss my family, but I'm like, I feel like I hardly ever see them anyways. And I'm like, I'm gonna miss my friends, but I like I don't see them that
But those
much.
guys are
Like,
assholes.
yeah. So like the fact, like once it was like the change was like spread out over a couple months, then I was able to be like, yeah, okay, I'll do that, you know? But like when when my wife asked me to do it, I was immediately was like, I'll think about it. I didn't say yes, I didn't say no, but I was just like, maybe, I don't know. But like there was definitely like I'm never gonna be like, oh yeah, let's go do that. Like I don't have any friends that are like your friend Jesse, and I wonder if I ever could have a friend like that because I would probably just be like, no, I don't want to go on that. Like, would I just reject everything and be like, no, that's too spontaneous? Like, am I even capable of having a friend like that? Maybe not.
Well, you said your wife is a friend like that. I mean, she's your friend, right?
Right.
Yeah, but she is a people person, so she wants to just spontaneously like, let's go hang with family, let's go hang with these friends, let's go do this. And I'm kind of antisocial, so I just don't want to. I always shut it down. If she ever said like, "Hey, let's go to the Grand Canyon," I'd be like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah. Spontaneity. I hated spontaneous combustion, so I'm there with you, even though it's not real. All right. You know what? Dave, end the show.
And that is our show. Thanks for listening.
I was Vincent Cloud.
Hi, it was John Nemeth.
And I was David Lauer.
All right.
All right, we had to cut all of that.